Hello, and welcome to Reclaim Democracy, Stories from the Oslo Freedom Forum. I'm Casey Michelle. I'm the head of the Human Rights Foundation's Combating Kleptocracy program, and of course, the co-host of Dissidents and Dictators. Over the next month, I'll be guiding you through this special 4-part series. Now, as many of you know, each year, the Human Rights Foundation brings together activists and dissidents at the Oslo Freedom Forum to call out injustice and expose threats to liberal democracy. And we wanted to share some of this year's most compelling voices with you. Today, Part 1, The Price of Freedom.
When my house arrest began, I was a mother of 3. 1 week later, I had only 2 children.
This is Russian activist Anastasia Shevchenko, who shared her story remotely with attendees at this year's Oslo Freedom Forum.
My eldest daughter, Alina, who had disabilities, died in the hospital, all alone. I was not allowed to go to the hospital to take care of her, but I was generously allowed to attend her funeral under the supervision of an inspector and with an ankle bracelet. At the funeral, I had to remain silent because I was banned from talking, leaving the house, writing and receiving letters, and working for over 2 years. My younger children grew up in an instant, losing a sister and taking on many parental responsibilities. They were deprived of many rights, just like me. My daughter Vlada was 14. My son Misha was only 7. If they got sick, a doctor couldn't come to our house. Actually, no one could. Once my son got sick and went to the hospital with his sister. They were not allowed to call me from the hospital.
Her story is only more heartbreaking when you learn why Anastasia was arrested. She was made an example of as the first person found guilty of, quote, organizing activity of an undesirable organization. Her crime? Advocating for a pro-democracy group known as the Open Russia Movement. She shared what it was like for her and her family right before her sentencing.
As I listened to him in court, I saw my daughter quietly crying when she heard the requested sentence. We waited for the court's decision for 10 days. We slept together, with an urn containing my eldest daughter's ashes sitting above us. I recorded video for them for the future, wishing them a good night, telling them how much I love them, and teaching them how to use household appliances without me. The children packed a bag for me in case I was sent to prison. Books, notebooks, clothing. They didn't sleep the entire night before the verdict, holding on to each other. My son fell asleep right in the courtroom, waiting for the verdict. An exhausted, little, curly-haired boy in the front row. I received a 4-year suspended sentence. The verdict stated that I am a threat to the defense capabilities and constitutional order of the Russian Federation. If you are tired of Putin's regime, you are unwanted by the Russian criminal regime. They want terrorism, war, repression, corruption, and hate. My children, like their peers, were unfortunately born under Putin's regime. My eldest daughter, Alina, had disabilities. When she was 1 month old, a doctor suggested that I give her up. I refused. Finding life-saving medications for her was a challenge every month. The state simply forgot to procure them. When you criticize the government, they tell you, you are a woman, take care of your children, and stay out of politics. But I got involved for the sake of my children, to show them that one cannot remain silent in the face of injustice.
Later, Anastasia told Rob Sachs of FP Studios why it was important to fight for democracy despite the tremendous hardships that came with it. By the way, Anastasia mentions Alexei Navalny. He was a longtime political activist opposed to Putin who died in prison earlier this year.
Can you tell us about when you first decided that you wanted to get into politics or be politically active?
It doesn't happen in an instant, like you decide to be a politician and to be involved.
It's like happening step by step. First of all, I had a disabled daughter and I had to find medications for her every month. It was my struggle as a mom. Then I became a journalist and I've seen how biased the media are and all about fake news. Then I worked in electoral committee and I've seen how fake the elections are. Then I saw Navalny on social media. I decided to support him in his campaign fighting propaganda. So many things together, one by one, and then you just can't stop and keep being active, keep fighting.
Talk a little bit about when you're talking about fake news or disinformation, from your vantage point, working in elections or as a journalist, what are some examples of things that really stood out for you?
I've spotted the lies everywhere. Everything is fake. They are pretending that we have elections. They are pretending we have free and independent media, but it's not true. And I don't like lies. So for me, I decided to, as soon as I see something is wrong, unfair, I'm ready to speak out. That's my problem, maybe.
Can you tell us about one of the first times you remember speaking out and what the consequences were?
I remember that day I got the first fine for it. And I was not actually speaking out. I was just standing. It was a political rally to protect Russian constitution because it was a constitutional day. And I was there with a sheet of paper saying hands off our constitution or something like that. I was really scared. It was allowed. It was all legal, this protest. But I was there even with my children. But then the police came and they fined me for it. And that was a real surprise because I'm protecting constitution in my country and police is against me and actually the authorities as well. So it's not necessary even to speak out. Just think about something they don't like and you are oppressed. And the second time it was already for political rally and enough of him against Putin, and then for debates with the representative of party in power, which were shown on local TV. Anyway, they considered it to be a crime. Then I was fined for a seminar. I wanted to run for office in my city, and we had a seminar how to get ready for this campaign, and a policeman came, there were many of them, they came into the audience with the question, where Shevchenko is? And I said, okay, I'm here. You are detained. For what? Because you are representing Open Russia movement in this audience, so you are detained for that. And I was fined. So it's so stupid, I can't even explain you how it works because it's random. This is how repressions work. It's absolutely random. You can be young, old, active, passive, left, right, doesn't matter. They can arrest you anytime.
You talked about being a mother at this time as well, and so the stakes were higher for you. How were you able to persist, even knowing that you had these other responsibilities as a mother and that they could potentially take away your freedoms and you'd have to deal with that, and especially a mother of a child with special needs?
Well, let me tell you one story. After 2014, the invasion to Crimea, hundreds of Crimean Tatars were arrested and they were jailed in my city. They had nothing to eat and nobody could help them because families were in Crimea. And mothers called me asking for help. Or sometimes wives with children with disabilities as well asked to help their husbands. As a mom, I couldn't refuse. So I could spend a day in the prison just to give them some food and to help them. That's how I felt that day. And I explained to my children that, sorry, but I have to go. I have to help them because they have no one to help here in the city. And this is a crime committed in my city, in my country. I don't want to be a part of it. And they actually understood me. And, when I was arrested, some people who never knew me, they came and brought food to my children.
And so they understood at an early age that there's things that you're doing that I guess you couldn't see a way of not doing them because they were so important, and that you felt compelled despite the risks.
Yes, it's all about compassion and love. That's the way I am. I am a mother who loves and empathizes, and my children know it and they do understand.
You were talking earlier about Open Russia and your activities there. You were the first person in Russia to be found guilty of participating in what was called an undesirable organization. What does that law do, and what was the effect of its passing on people like yourself who were trying to stand up for the Constitution?
Well, this law has a long history. It actually was created for some American organizations working in Russia, some foundations. They are called undesirable, were called undesirable immediately, but Open Russia was a Russian movement, a movement of Russian activists. And to call it undesirable, for me, that was nonsense. They said the organization is British. We proved that there is no British organization, Open Russia, but, for the court, it doesn't mean anything. So it worked like that. First, you get 2 fines for participating in activity of Open Russia. The third time is you are already arrested. So it happened with me. I was fined twice, and then the third time they came to me with a search, and I was arrested.
And I know at that time, too, you were also dealing with your daughter's disability and eventually her hospitalization. Can you talk about what it was like for you to be incarcerated when your family needed you so much?
That was the hardest thing in my arrest. I spent 2 days in prison. They told me you are going to be in horrible circumstances there because there are lots of insects, no water, and so on. But I didn't care much about it because I was worried about my children, first of all. And in the court, I was showing the judge that my daughter, she's like a baby. She's disabled. She can't eat. She can't change diapers to herself. So somebody should be there with her. And the judge was only smiling. And they didn't let me go and see her. She got bronchitis and died in a week after my arrest. I was interrogated by the investigator, and during the interrogation, her heart stopped twice. And the lawyer told me about it. So they called Moscow, because every decision was made only after they called Moscow. And finally, at 9 p.m., they said, okay, you can go to the hospital. And we were driving there at night. The investigator called several times asking if I'm not going to Ukraine, because the border with Ukraine was pretty close. I said, I'm going to see my child. But they let me go and see her only in the morning. She was not conscious and like a small cold body, and she didn't see me. I spent 5 minutes there crying next to her, and then the doctor asked me to go out, and in an hour she died. I talked to the nurse, and the nurse told me that she was all alone during the whole day. Nobody was there to feed her and to take care of her. And in the evening, she got fever, and then her heart stopped twice. I don't know, the bronchitis doesn't work like that. And she had bronchitis several times because she had problems with lungs. I was there every time, and she recovered very quickly. So I think if I were there with her, she'd be alive, or at least she would see me. So that's something I can never forgive, that she was dying alone. I think it's irrational cruelty towards me, my family, my children. It was done on purpose to demonstrate that whoever you are, how many children you have, they don't care. If you work with Open Russia or any kind of undesirable organization, you are going to be arrested.
when you think about Russian culture and someone like Putin who rides around on horses and this machismo culture, what does it mean to be a woman speaking out, and how has that resonated with others, especially in a place like Russia?
Yes, to be a woman now, it's not easy in my country. And I know many female political activists who are arrested and spend the worst days in prison. I remember one of activists in Moscow tells me she has a life hack how not to be arrested. I was very interested, and she said, they released me several times when I was arrested, detained, and told to police, I have a period. And they felt so disgusted that they let her go. So this is the way they treat us.
And I think about you being in exile now, and what's maybe a power that you have to connect with people as you're in exile?
The power that we have is love, first of all, because we are tired of terror. And a person in Russia feels like nobody cares about you and you should serve this government, but government shouldn't do anything for you. I want people to feel that they are needed. This is the main power the woman gives. And actually, being abroad, you can do a lot. So I am in touch with activists inside my country. I help political prisoners. It's possible to do. I help war prisoners, Ukrainian war prisoners who are imprisoned in Russia, to get in touch with their families, for example. I plan campaigns with Russian diasporas all over the world. So if you want to do, if you feel like you can, you will do it. Sometimes they ask me, where do you find motivation? And I don't need to look for this motivation because I understand people are dying, people are suffering every day in Russia and in Ukraine because of Putin and his regime. And I'm going to do everything I can every day, even if it's a small, small change.
We asked our Oslo Freedom Forum attendees if they had any questions for Anastasia as well. Here's what they had to share and her response.
My name is Fatima Karimova, journalist, the co-founder of exiled media outlet Microscope Media from Azerbaijan. I just have a request for her that when she mentions about Putin and his crimes, please mention about his allies that help him, like Ilham Aliyev and other dictators that help him either for the sanction evasion or to legitimize his crimes, justify his crimes. So that's all my request for her, and good luck to her. So we appreciate her fight, her work, and all Russian dissidents' work. So I hope better future for all of us, for all of our countries. Thank you.
I remember Russian propaganda writing about me. She had to take care of her children, but she has chosen politics. So she pays her price. And that's not true. I am involved because of my children and my family. If you watch Putin on Russian TV, he always says, our main value is family, children, women. You should have more children. But that's, again, lies. It's all lies. I don't believe him, and I expect other people not to believe him as well.
Yeah, my name is Victor Navarro. I was a political prisoner in Venezuela. In 2018, I worked with the Voices Memory Foundation. For 5 months, I was a political prisoner in El Helicoide. El Helicoide is the biggest torture center in Venezuela. It's necessary that Russian people, that Venezuelan people, that Nicaraguan people follow with the fight, because it's necessary close the torture center and free all political prisoners around the world.
I've seen the statistics watching live from Oslo Freedom Forum that 79 or 72% of population live under dictatorship. So never think you are alone. There are many people who are ready to stand with you and fight with you and do care. Never think that you are someone different and maybe crazy, not you. No, you're a real person and you need to keep fighting. How to find motivation? Again, just don't forget about those who are in jail, and all we need is to do everything we can to set them free and to stop the war and to help people in our country.
I'm Olivier Ndol. I'm from Africa, Republic Democratic of Congo. I'm lawyer by profession. I'm work on environment issue. Yes, I have just to ask about, which kind of action we can have between coalition, to make coalition, very strong coalition between North Global and the South Global to work together for change in the world.
I think the coalition is already built. It's a World Liberty Congress. I think that's a very powerful organization where activists from many countries under dictatorship work together. And I know in Oslo there is a huge team of World Liberty Congress, and I'm very sorry not to be there with them.
We just saw Putin cementing himself yet again in these sham elections. What gives you hope that there can be political change in Russia?
Imagine you get a letter from your friend who is sentenced for 25 years, or a war prisoner who got a life sentence. Are you going to give him hope? I will. I will do everything I can, because sometimes I see that they're desperate, and I just feel this is my task to give people hope. And I told you, I don't need to look for it. I just have it. Otherwise, it's impossible to keep fighting. I really hope in the generation, the younger generation now. I see my children, as I told in Oslo, my daughter is studying politics. My son is very active. And they are not scared at all. They are not afraid. At some point, as one of political prisoners from Crimea told me, at some point you stop being afraid. And this gives hope that one day we will stop being afraid, because to live in fear for so many years, it's frightening, and it's a damage for the whole society.
We are so appreciative of the time you've given us today and appreciative of the work you're doing. It's been an honor to speak with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jan.
My thanks to Anastasia Shevchenko for sharing her story. Coming up, more from this 2024 Oslo Freedom Forum after the break. Welcome back to Reclaim Democracy, Stories from the Oslo Freedom Forum. I'm Casey Michel. Before we go, we wanted to share one more voice from this year's conference. Rafael Adebayo is a human rights activist from Nigeria and Freedom Fellow with the Human Rights Foundation. This fellowship program brings together activists from all over the world for mentorship and community. Rafael has become a leading voice calling for police reform in Nigeria, but as he told us, he calls himself something else.
I am a writer and peaceful troublemaker from Nigeria. So saying I'm a peaceful troublemaker is to say I do not believe in violence. I believe in approaching issues in the best and most peaceful way possible. I left Nigeria in 2020 after coordinating peaceful and SARS protests against police brutality in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. And before I left, I had coordinated the protest several times, and there was a particular incident during the protest where the police fired their water cannon directly into my face. It damaged my glasses and permanently compromised my eyesight. But throughout the protest, we experienced consistent attacks from state security agents and then state-hired thugs, and the situation just kept getting worse from there. But I relish the protest because it was a critical moment in the history of our country where young people stood up against the behemoths that had been at the core of their daily experiences of harassment, torture, terrorization, killing. And it was the first time in 3 decades that Nigeria rose in such a manner. One of the first things we did during the NSAS protest was to let the public and the entire world know that, first of all, we are not the enemy of the Nigerian police. And so during the protest, there were several instances, almost on a daily basis, where whatever we are having as protesters, we would share with the police, whether it's drinks, whether it's food, we will share with them so they know that what we are demanding, that these deadly units, cease operation, it's also for their own sake, and beyond that, we're also saying we want a police-wide reform. So we were trying to focus on the issues while at the same time letting them know that, you see, we are potential allies. We are not threats. That's one. 2, we made sure that we kept hammering on the importance of staying peaceful throughout our protests, because we know for sure that it is our biggest weapon, staying peaceful. Most of the biggest achievements that have been recorded in history by civil rights activists, by freedom fighters, have been achieved in a peaceful manner. So for us, non-violence is not an option. It is a conviction. And it must remain so, because it undergirds the strategies that drive our actions for a better country, for a stronger democracy, and for more enjoyable and peaceful life for Nigerians and democracy lovers all around the world.
That was Rafael Adebayo, an activist coordinating the End SARS protests against police brutality in Nigeria. And that's it for this week's episode, Reclaim Democracy, Stories from the Oslo Freedom Forum, a show by the Human Rights Foundation produced by FP Studios. Our team includes Rosie Julin, Rob Sachs, Omar Al-Fatihi, Tara Everton, Natalia Saucedo, Anna Peterson, and Grace Douglas. If you like our show, please rate us or tell a friend. Next week, we continue our series, Reclaim Democracy, Stories from the Oslo Freedom Forum, with the story of a jailed activist, Jimmy Lai, who had the audacity to stand up to the Chinese government with his newspaper, Apple Daily. We'll hear from his son, Sebastian Lai, who is now fighting for his father's freedom.
And that you have to believe that the truth wins out and just keep going at it without fearing.
We'll be back next week with more stories from the 2024 Oslo Freedom Forum. I'm Casey Michelle. See you next time.